Greetings and welcome to Retrospect. Look at these two bags. What do you see? Do you know the differences between them? Well, one being top brand and the other being the cheap stuff. Other than that, there's really no difference. Okay. The point is that games can be no different. Games like your Doom clones and such. You've probably heard the term, like God of War, but today we're going to examine one of those games and prove that just because it's generic doesn't mean it isn't bad. Today's game is Power Blade. Developed by Natsume and published by Taito, Power Blade was released in America on March 1991. Power Blade was actually a reworking of a game called Power Blazer. The thing was, Power Blazer sucked. It wasn't as flexible, it was far more cheap when it came to deaths, and I'm not sure if it was my copy, but there were some very distracting graphical errors that occurred. And so it was remade into the far superior Power Blade, improving almost every aspect that made the original so bad. The story is thus: a master computer that runs the planet Earth, and you can see where this is going. Yep. Alien terrorists come and make it go berserk. You play as Nova, a particularly beefy protagonist sent to disarm the 6 sectors and gain access to the main computer. Nova is armed with the Power Blade, a boomerang with supreme power. Looking at the cover, I know what you're thinking about Nova, right? Duke Nukem ripoff. Actually, no. This game came out a few months before the very first Duke Nukem, and Duke didn't even have the sunglasses back then. But wait a minute. Blonde, beefy, blows up crap in a substandard sci-fi plot? I know what this is! This is Red Brown the video game! Oh yeah, now we're talking. One of the greatest B-movie action stars, and this would be right up his alley. If only he could have posed for the cover like Fabio did for Iron Sword. But I lose focus. You start off picking a sector, and your goal at that point is twofold. One is to find your contact somewhere in the level. Once you find them, you must then find the boss room and summarily kick its ass. Rinse and repeat. My question is, why even have human contacts to begin with? These aren't humans you can fool with a good undercover thing going. These are maverick robots that shoot on sight. You can't exactly don a trash can and go, "Shall we destroy humanity today, my fellow robots?" The game is mostly a mashup of Contra and Mega Man. You can choose which stage you want to visit first, and there are energy tanks. These are highly inspired by Mega Man. Ah, the disappearing blocks? Really? Getting pretty blatant there, game. Hell, even the music sounds like something out of one of the later Mega Man games. Not quite as catchy, but still decent enough. The Contra element comes in the form that you can fire in multiple directions, and do so while moving to boot. The gameplay is pretty decent. Your weapon starts off crappy, but with a few upgrades you can throw it farther and harder, allowing only your skill to prevent you from excelling. What's nice is that if you die, only a fraction of your power is taken away at a time, so you don't have to start from scratch each setback. Controls are tight and responsive. You jump and fire exactly when you press the buttons. Fortunately, if you get hit, you don't fall back, which would otherwise make some parts very frustrating. It thankfully didn't copy some of the nastier elements of other games. I have to say though, our protagonist moves like a mannequin. I think he just up and decided to do mobile jazzercises while saving the world. The levels allow for some exploration, seeing as how you have to find your contact before you can get to the boss. So the levels always have some way for you to get back to previous areas in case you find the boss door first. Though some of these paths are more dangerous than most. If you're lucky, you can find the suit, which not only turns you into RoboCop, but unlocks the Power Blade's full potential, allowing you to fire waves that pierce through walls. Fortunately, the suit can take about 3 hits before it goes kaput, though you will rarely have it when you get to the bosses. Speaking of which, bosses pretty much follow the strategy of kill them before they kill you. You can see with some of them that, yeah, they have patterns you could dodge, or elements that you're supposed to use, but it's just easier to shove a fist full of boomerang in their face, especially the B-boss. Enemies are an odd bunch. You'll see things like robo-midgets and gorillas with... What the hell? Okay, I have no idea why, but someone thought it a good security measure would be to plaster the face of Vladimir Lenin on the wall, and then give him Marty Feldman's eyes. There are also T-1000s, and some Ed 209s. Guess games aren't the only things Power Blade was being derivative of. In fact, that kind of sums up the game right there. It's generic. It's just a huge amalgam of games and elements that it borrows from other places. Granted, these are good games that it borrows them from, and it uses them well. But there's nothing that really says it's a, hey, look at me title. Still, for what it's worth, Power Blade is still an excellent game. And if you want a decent time passer, you could probably, peruse an emulator and find it and give yourself a quick time passer. This has been Retrospect.